Steel Curtain Network.
Touchdown! Touchdown para Calvin Austin! El Monte Washington es arma. ¿Quién más? ¿Quién más? DJ Watt!
What is going on, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, and welcome to another 2025 NFL Draft Roundtable. This is Jeff Hartman, joined by Dave Schofield. We're not just talking about the day 3 picks. We are wrapping up the 2025 draft. The Steelers end up with 7 selections after a trade back in the 5th round on day 3, gives them 2 7th-round picks. And if 6.5 hours of me and Dave wasn't enough, you get more time with us live here on our YouTube channel. Good God, we're sick in the head. But anyways, Dave, welcome back to the show, I guess.
Oh, I mean, Jeff, there's only so many words in the human language you can put together. Haven't we already reached our maximum for the day? I don't know. I tell you, over 70% of the Steelers draft picks happened today. So today was the big day. I mean,
nice.
They traded back. They picked up another pick. They've had 5 selections. So, yeah, we're going to talk about all of it. But, yeah, a lot of it's going to be what happened today because that's where the majority of the picks came.
So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about day 3 picks first. We'll then give our thoughts on the draft in its entirety after a quick break, and then that'll be it. If you want to hear our specific thoughts on Derek Hartman, round 1, Caleb Johnson, round 3, go back to those roundtable podcasts and listen to those. But this is kind of day 3 / a complete draft recap. So let's get started, Dave. We're talking about the day 3 picks. We're in obviously the 4th round. It's the Steelers' turn to pick, and they kind of go out there, and they got on a limb by a lot of people said, man, not so much by player, but position. They take an edge rusher, outside linebacker Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State. This is a player that a lot of people liked. A lot of people have seen a lot of because he played for the national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. But I can throw myself into this category. I was not expecting them to draft an outside linebacker in the 4th round. Dave, what was your takeaway?
I was not either. But like most of these picks, what am I going to do? I'm going to find a way to love it because this is now a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And it wasn't hard. This was not difficult. The hardest thing about to take on about this pick was what position they were taking with only their 3rd pick in the draft. I understand that. But as I broke down on the live stream, that, hey, the 4th round is actually a really good place to just say, hey, we don't need somebody else at this position. This isn't a huge position of need, but we're going to take the value of who's out there. And this is someone that we think can be beneficial to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's worth the impact. And I think when it came to edge rusher, this was the magic spot because anything above this, you're like, oh, well, how much are they really going to be, getting playing time with TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith? Are they going to try to supplant Nick Herbig and things of that nature? Anything below this, you're like, are they really going to find a way to get them into the rotation with someone that was picked that low? I think it was the sweet spot to add someone. To me, a Jeremiah Moon replacement is the way I look at it. Special teams guy, but you now have a backup edge rusher that is your run guy. That's where Nick Herbig is really lacking. And this is run defense first, pass rush second, where it's the other way around for your other reserve edge rusher. So the more you think about it after it happens, the more it makes sense. When you're in the moment and you're thinking about, oh, they could be taking a quarterback, they could be taking this, that, it might not, it doesn't, but especially coming back after all the picks are made, it really does. I'm like, I really like this one.
To me, in the draft, more than even in a game, you as a fan really need to try your best to avoid that knee-jerk reaction. So in the 4th round, everyone's like, I can't believe they're not taking a quarterback. This is ridiculous. Well, hindsight's always 20/20. Here we are after the draft is concluded, and guess what? They did get their quarterback. We'll talk about him in a little bit, and I don't think anyone was complaining about when they got him. And so at the time, you're thinking, okay, yes, maybe there are other positions, other players that they maybe they should covet. They might address those later. You just don't know that yet because you're not seeing necessarily how it's going to all play out. And I've always said this. Everyone says that Omar Khan's unbelievably aggressive. I would say that he's unbelievably patient. He is willing to wait. He's not, trading up because there's that one guy. And sometimes you get burned doing that, but he's been pretty successful with his patience, to be honest with you. So I thought that the outside linebacker, the position was like, wow, I can't believe they just took that position. But I like the player. The more you read about him, he's a high motor guy. He seems like he's a football junkie is what it seems like to me. And so I was okay with it. I was totally okay with it. And I don't think this has any bearing on TJ Watt whatsoever. So if anyone's trying to draw that conclusion, I am buying into that narrative. We'll put it that way. So let's go to the 5th round. Steelers have 1 pick in the 5th round. They double dip, not just on the defensive line.
Remember what they did before they made the pick.
They trade back.
They traded back.
They traded back. Yes, they trade back with who was it? The Chiefs?
It was the Chiefs.
Yes,
they traded back
with
8
the Chiefs.
spots.
They swapped 5th round and gained a 7th. And so you're waiting. They double dip on the defensive line, and they double dip with Iowa Hawkeyes. And they take Waya, not Yaya. Waya is his actual name. That's by him. Black. And he is a monster of a man. He and Logan Lee will be reunited. They played alongside one another at Iowa. So we got the Hawkeye connection there, not to mention Caleb Johnson. So Dave, when they got Wyatt Black, what was your thought?
If you're going to take another defensive lineman, take the huge run stuffing potential nose tackle. Doesn't mean that he'll be your starting nose tackle right away, but someone that could do that. And that's if you're going to double dip, that's what we were looking for, wasn't it, Jeff? We've talked about it for weeks. Yeah. If you're going to do, you could go 2 defensive linemen. You could get the guy that you're big, regular defensive tackle that does that. That's what Derek Hartman did. And you can add on, if you want a nose tackle, do it later, not early. And this is a guy that just screams nose tackle. So, and once again, I said in the live chat, this guy, you could say to him, all right, we're not going to call on you a lot this year, but we have 2 games against a team that wears purple. And we just want you to be a guy that's ready to go to do this specific thing in this specific game because we need you just for that. And it'd be worth it, So I like the pick. I don't know value-wise if that was the best 5th round pick, but anytime you trade back and take a guy, to me that tells you it's more value rather than if you just would have taken him there. So that helps a little bit. But that was one I didn't know if they had, did they have to take him here? I'm not sure, but absolutely love what I've seen and looked into with him since the Steelers took him.
And I think that I agree with you when you said about the purple team, the Baltimore Ravens. I would say that the Browns are in that category too. The Browns drafted 2 rookie running backs. They're pretty high profile running backs in this draft. They're going to want to run the football. When you look at their quarterback room, they're really going to want to run the football. So this guy might get more play than we think if he can get acclimated, learn the system, and everything becomes functional. But you said it on the live stream, and I'll reiterate it here. This is going to be a very interesting dynamic on the defensive line. They have a ton of defensive linemen on their 90-man offseason roster. It'll be interesting to see, okay, does Montravius Adams find a role after the drafting of Wyatt Black? Probably not. He'd have to do it more at another position and not at nose tackle. So going to be really interesting. I liked them double dipping.
Yeah. How many L's do you keep now? Between
what?
But how many of the L's? The Loudermilk Leal Lowry.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, come on. I talked about the L's last season. Lead into it. That there's no way you're going to have all 3 of those guys. I don't even know if you go more than 2. What about the guy they signed from New England? It's once again going to be a really crowded defensive line room. But hey, even if it's crowded, who cares if it's crowded if it's not good enough? You got to upgrade.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. I think the Sawyer signing, they have he's an actual edge defender. Leal's not flexing out there. So unless they told Leal, either you're playing the defensive line, not edge. Because remember last year, he was like that tweener before he got hurt. He doesn't, I don't think he has a spot on this team anymore. Loudermilk was insurance. They double dipped at the position. Logan Lee's coming back off of IR. I don't think there's a place for him either.
I forgot about Lee. I didn't throw him in as one of the L's.
And Lowry.
Yeah, I forgot Lee. What am I doing? That's a double L. How do I miss him?
Wow. Look at all those L's. So, okay. So I like the pick. I like double dipping, and I like that they got a big, like, nose tackle type of player. That's what we all coveted for the Steelers, and they did it.
Yeah.
So that was in the 5th round. So then we go to the 6th round, and this is when they finally pulled the trigger on a quarterback. After Kyle McCord got drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles, you probably thought the Steelers were like, okay, now we got to think about doing this. There's a little mini day 3 run on quarterbacks, and the Steelers got in on that. They take Will Howard out of Ohio State. I was extremely happy with the selection.
Yeah.
Not so much the player. He was one of, I think outside of Cam Ward, I liked him the most out of the rest of the crop. It was that they got him in the 6th round.
Oh my gosh.
Like that's what it is. Like they got him in the 6th round. I have no expectations for this guy. If he gets cut, I'm like, man, 6th round pick. Who cares? What are we complaining about? I'm not saying that anyone is, but I thought it was a great pick. Good patience by Khan. They get their guy. What do you think?
Yeah, he was a guy that I'm like, well, if a lot of the quarterbacks are going and you have to take him in the 3rd, I guess that's all right. But really, I would have been, 4th round. I'm like, all right, go ahead.
Yeah.
And it's in the 6th round.
6th.
And I mean, I've said it. I forget where I've said it because I've said it so many times. This wasn't a quarterback to draft to be your next starter. This was your quarterback to draft to be your next Landry Jones role.
Yes.
And if he becomes more than that, great. Taking him in the 6th is like, even if he doesn't become the Landry Jones role, no big deal. That's what I would have wanted out of him as a 4th round pick. Honestly. So now if he is that, what I hoped he would have been if he took him in the 4th and he becomes that, fantastic. Is there potential that he could be more? Yeah. Am I banking on it? Is this, this really could be the Steelers' next quarterback? My goodness, is this going to be a Tom Brady that was taken in the 6th round and blah, blah, blah? I am not saying that. I am not holding the young man back one bit from saying that he couldn't become something great. I don't expect him to. If he does, it's just double bonus, triple bonus, quadruple bonus. It's just basically you now have somebody that I would expect this year to be your 3rd quarterback, and then potentially your backup next year or beyond.
Yeah, and everyone's going to look at 6th round draft pick, and they're going to draw the connection with Tom Brady. That's just natural. But I said this, Dave, you might have been doing the breaking news podcast when I said this on the live stream, was when the New England Patriots selected Tom Brady out of Michigan in the 6th round of that draft, and they had Drew Bledsoe as their starting quarterback. Was there anyone within that fan base that said, Tom Brady, he's going to win a lot of Super Bowls. This guy's going to go down as one of the greatest of all time? The answer is no. They said, well, we got our backup quarterback. So I'm telling everyone out there, because quarterback is just, that's the position. I understand it. Just don't heap any expectations on this guy. Just go in and say, it is what it is. If he turns out to be a backup for the next, how many years did Landry Jones play for the Steelers?
Well, the thing is how many I had him up here for a while. He had 3 seasons in which he appeared in games. Yeah. But he was with the Steelers for at least a couple years before he even saw the field.
At least 5 or 6. So
I mean, he was minimum. He was with the Steelers 5 years.
Right.
But actually appearing in games is a little bit less because, like I said, 2013 draft didn't appear in a game until 2015.
Yeah.
And he was with the team through at least 2017.
If that's all that Will Howard is for the Steelers, that's okay. He's a 6th round draft pick. So don't fall into the Kevin Colbert, Mason Rudolph. We had a first round grade on him. And then all of a sudden those type of thoughts come through your head. No, don't do that again. Just think this is a 6th round draft pick. Let's see what he can do. Yeah. But I was excited. I was excited with this pick. I like that they got him and where they got him. 6th round draft pick.
And it was 5 seasons. I looked it up. Yeah.
Okay.
He did not make the team. He was in camp in 2018, but didn't make the team.
Yeah.
Because of Mason Rudolph.
Okay. And real quick, Mark Malone asks, are all late round picks 4-year contracts? All rookie contracts are 4 years, except for the first round player has a 5th-year option, and that's the only difference.
And now here's the thing to remember. Undrafted free agents are 3-year contracts.
Right. And then they become a restricted free agent, restricted rights, and that stuff. So.
Well, where the exclusive rights comes in is guys that might sign those contracts, but those contracts are technically terminated because they were cut and signed to the practice squad. Then your initial contract isn't there anymore. That's a lot of times where the exclusive rights stuff comes in. But yeah, a lot of times if you're an undrafted rookie free agent and you stick with the team, you're generally 3 years, and then that 4th year is the restricted free agent possibility.
Yeah. So I know for a fact, I can only speak for myself. At this stage of the draft, you had Derek Hartman round 1, Caleb Johnson round 3, Jack Sawyer round 4, Wyatt Black round 5, and then Will Howard in round 6. They addressed so many needs at that point that I was sitting there like a 7th round, like whatever. They got 2 picks, but whatever. It is what it is. And so the Steelers made their 2 selections. They didn't trade. The first selection in the 7th round was linebacker Carson Bruner. Yes, Mark Bruner, former tight end Bruner, now scout Bruner for the Steelers. Bruner out of Washington. That's his son. He was the selection. Dave, what did you think there? They go legacy.
Yeah, well, I said going into it that now you've got to can you even find a player that could squeeze on the 53-man roster? You know, some people are saying wide receiver. I'm like, I don't know that they can squeeze another one in there. You'd have to knock off Roman Wilson or special teams attributions of Ben Skoranek or convince the Steelers to keep an extra one.
Right.
So I'm like, what positions could they actually do? I'm like, but if you think you have a special player that you're finding in the 7th round, then draft them. So to me, I thought they did a good job of finding a player that I think can squeeze onto this roster. I think he's going to get to battle with Mark Robinson for the last linebacker spot. I don't think they'll keep an extra one like they did last year in both Robinson and Medikevich. I think Medikevich kind of got with the Malik Harrison, him and Landon Roberts got 2 players combined into one in what they got with Harrison. So when it comes to, Bruner so it's not a wasted pick of someone that you knew. I mean, come on. Chris Oladokun was supposed to be a camp arm. You knew he wasn't making that roster when they drafted him. He was just there in case of injury, and there never was one. So to me, at least you got someone that's a chance. And I'd thought about, that's someone for the Steelers to take late at earlier points leading up to the draft. But here during the draft, I completely forgot about him. Completely did. And as soon as that name came up, I'm like, of course they were, that made sense for them to make the pick there. So I'm fine with it. When I was reading what they said about him, I don't know if it's a good comparison, but so much of what they said reminded me of Tyler Medikevich. Not necessarily sideline to sideline speed. You'll have to see how he is, questionable in coverage at the NFL level. Great, would give you great play on special teams. That's what Dirty Red was. I think it's a very similar pick. And like you said, it's a legacy pick. So I had no problem with it. So it was just one of those. It's not like I'm super excited about it, but it's one that I thought made sense and they got a shot to make the roster.
Yeah, to me, you can always tell something by who the Steelers send out with these late round picks to talk to the media after the pick is made. So, for instance, when Will Howard was selected, they actually sent out Arthur Smith to speak to the media. When Wyatt Black was selected, Carl Dunbar came out. After Bruner, who'd they send out? Danny Smith.
I saw a picture of Danny Smith. I was wondering if that's who they sent out. Yeah.
The dude's going to win it. He's going to win a spot with special teams. That's just how it's going to be. And you need those players. They're a part of the team. They're a part of the process. So we'll see how that goes. And then let's go to the last pick of the draft for the Steelers. Cornerback. They finally go with cornerback Dante Kent. I'm not sure how you say that.
I'm sure properly. It's Dante. Well, you're still saying Jaywan Thornhill when it's Juan.
Is it Juan?
It is Juan.
Juan?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was like, there's no way this guy's name is Juan. But anyways, that's not the
I've
think
never
Jawan.
I keep hearing it on Let's Ride. I'm like, oh, next time I'm on a show with Jeff, I have to say it, and then I never think to say it.
There you go.
There you go.
Good. Okay.
But no, that's
so Central Michigan. Dante Kent from Central Michigan. And I know that when the pick was made and I was doing all the work for the website, listening to Andrew Wilbar and Jeremy Betts and even Big G, Sean Gurley was there. And they were talking about his measurables. They're like, this guy tests pretty well.
Mhm.
So again, could it be a slot pick, maybe, or a slot? Yeah, that like for the slot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dave, what was your takeaway on this pick?
Yeah, when I looked at his breakdown, and I asked Jeremy this before I got off to do the Breaking News podcast, I'm like, is this a slot guy? And they said, yep. When I looked at the breakdown, the first thing they said, much more suited at the next level for the slot, but not impossible to be utilized on the outside if needed. Here's another thing that I thought was interesting about this one. Okay, but this is what you need as a late round draft pick. Says capable of competing for roles as a gunner and a punt returner.
I'm intrigued.
I mean, I know they have CA3 and everything, but the more you can do, the more the more you have a shot to make the team.
For sure. Absolutely. So that's interesting. I didn't know that. That's good information. Yeah. So that kind of wraps up, and I have no take on Ken as a player.
I was going to say, to me, kind of like what I said with Bruner, 7th round pick. It's a guy you want to, it's an undrafted free agent you didn't want to fight for, but these were guys that were a little bit earlier in the round than where the Steelers usually taking them.
Yeah. I think he's got it.
I think he's battling Beanie Bishop for a roster spot. Could they keep them both? They could. You could do that in the secondary, but they wouldn't have to. So I think, once again, I think there's a way that he could find his way onto the roster depending on how he plays. So that's not a bad 7th round pick to add to that room.
Not at all. All right. So I like that they went with cornerback. They addressed that. It was the last pick of their draft in the 7th round, but still they did address it. So I like that. I liked all the thoughts on that, but let's take a quick break. When we come back from the break, we're going to put a bow on this whole draft, give our thoughts, and then we're going to break all this down throughout the next month or so.
3 months.
So don't worry. We will address all of it, but still, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. All right, Steeler fans, thank you all for being patient. And let's finish this podcast up with just, rounds 1 through 7. What are your thoughts? Dave, I'll let you go first.
Individually or collectively?
I think it's a collective. I think it's let's look at this and put it in a capsule and say, this is the 2025 Steelers draft. What are your thoughts on it?
Okay. Is it a perfect draft? I don't know that one exists.
Right.
Is it, do you want to try to grade it? Once again, I'll say you really truly need 3 seasons to know what you're actually getting. So you don't have to jump the gun. Can you feel good about this draft as a Steelers fan? Absolutely. Look at it. They've got a defensive tackle that to play along with Hayward and Benton that looks to be long-term a Cam Hayward replacement. Not like you. I know it's big shoes to fill, but at least you have someone that has the pedigree that they could potentially do that. You get a running back that actually fits a little bit more what you're wanting to do. You get a guy that can run the outside zone. And he also complements what you have. You get a guy that can be your 3rd and short, your short yardage runner as well. So you don't have to rely and lean on him heavily early on as a rookie, but yet he can be more than capable of being able to step in if needs be, if he shows that he can do it. Then you get depth at outside linebacker. It's someone who makes sense to get into that rotation with everything and have a core special teams guy. You get another massive guy on the defensive line, which is something that Steelers fans have been asking for. You get a a potential, quarterback, a potential backup who knows, maybe he over exceeds. Yet it's not somebody that keeps it, because that quarterback room can be dynamic. You got to worry about those dynamics. That doesn't keep you from wanting to address the position in a big way next year, but maybe you hit something anyway. And then guys that can make the rosters. Overall, the Steelers aren't coming out of this draft with any glaring hole that could have been addressed. I mean, I don't feel that the Steelers were drafting a starting quarterback for 2025 in this draft. It just wasn't the way it felt. Now, some people might have believed that about Mr. Sanders, but he ended up going round 5 anyway. So that showed that a lot of other people didn't necessarily think that either. So if you're a Steelers fan that came into this draft thinking the Steelers are going to get their starting quarterback for this year or next year, then you're going to be disappointed in this draft. If that was your expectation. If that wasn't your expectation coming in, like it wasn't for me, I don't believe it was for you, Jeff, because you're saying don't take one in the first round. You've said that for a long time.
Yes.
Then what the Steelers did and how they built up their roster, I'm really excited about.
So I said this on the live stream, and I'll say it again here, and I'm going to quote Mark Cabali of The Athletic. He said, the Steelers have a plan, and they have executed that plan to a T.
Yeah.
The question now is it the right plan? That's the difficult part of this, because, we can sit here and say, well, you look at 2026 for this, or we'll look at how they're trying to build up the trenches. You just hope that it's right, that the way that they're approaching it is good. Are they making the right selections? Are those players going to live up to their potential? Are they going to, be able to fulfill those expectations that we and the organization are placing on them? Those are the challenging parts of the NFL draft. No one has a crystal ball. No one can look into the future and say, yes, Derek Hartman is going to be an all-pro. We hope so. But we don't know that. And so I think that the Steelers did a very good job in this draft of, again, being patient, seeing how the board fell, and taking the best player available at a position that they covet. And that's something that everyone always asks me, and it gets brought up all the time. Should you do best player available or draft by position? And I've always said the same thing. Can't you do both? Can't you say we really need this position?
That's the trick.
Yeah, we really need this position. We're looking at our best players available. We have one that's right there in the top 5. Let's take that guy, because if every single time you pick, there's a running back that is at the top of your draft board, you're not going to just keep taking running backs. It doesn't work that way. That's not smart football. So I thought this was a really good class. It was not as exciting as some of the classes in the past, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't good. I said this after day one. I said day one, the draft was boring, but it's not. That does not mean it's bad. Yeah. Taking a defensive lineman in the first round is not shiny. It's not flashy, but
neither was an offensive lineman in the last 2 years.
No, it wasn't. But at the same time, it's necessary.
It's what you got to do to get it to be a better team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I loved in this draft, when you take a look at how everything unfolded, it wasn't just all, again, I've talked about this with Kevin Colbert in his waning years as GM. It was like all defense, then all offense. It seemed more balanced this year. Yeah. And they did take more defenders than they did offensive players, but I just felt like, you get Caleb Johnson. You got to balance this thing out. So,
well, honestly, did they? Because as CD put in the live chat not long ago, if you look at this draft and you include DK Metcalf as their second round pick, it's a whole different story.
Yeah,
it's a whole different story. So if you include Metcalf, if you don't think of him as a free agent and you think of him as your second round draft pick, you're just paying him free agent money now anyway.
Yep.
Then that really does show you your balance between offense and defense that you just did.
Absolutely. So any final thoughts, Dave, before we call it a show?
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to throw the DK Metcalf before we went too far, and I didn't mean to interrupt you in case you had more to say there.
No, you're good.
All right. Final thoughts. I love the draft, and yet I don't want to say I hate the draft. It's I hate how tired I am now.
Exhausting. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. It's a lot of work. It can stress me out. I still feel bad for my family. I feel like I spent a little bit of time with them yesterday morning, and that's about all that I feel that I've been able to do since the draft kicked off. I'd like to go hug my wife and actually say goodnight to my kids tonight. That'll be pretty good. But bringing it back to the Steelers, I mean, this is this is basically the halfway point of the offseason. If you're looking at the offseason of when the Steelers go to training camp, this is it. This is now. You're going to throw in some undrafted free agents. You're going to potentially throw in the coming weeks, maybe some additional free agents, once you get them out of that compensatory with count towards that, which is after 4:00 on Monday. Do that. And there's still a big question with quarterback of exactly how it's going to go down. And I know I don't want to go into that too much, but overall, I'm saying I'm happy with what the Steelers did. I feel like I didn't have an issue like in 2021 when I'm like, you got to get a center, and they just didn't. And when they finally got one, and I'm like, oh, they must have really known what they were doing. It didn't work. Now, can we find out that some of these draft picks aren't going to work? Yeah. I mean, we might be sitting here, 48 weeks from now talking about, oh, well, this, they missed on this in the draft. Okay. I don't know. Then you got to throw in the guys that didn't really play last year as draft picks because of injury. They had a bunch of them. You had Troy Fautanu, you had Ruben Wilson, you had, even, Logan Lee, Ryan Watts in with these guys, but have had the experience. You've got some infusion coming into this team, but it's also a lot of unknown, and that's what you get when you draft players. So I'm excited about it. I'm hopeful that Steelers Nation can now finally get excited about 2025 after being so frustrated since the end of 2024. I hope this gives you just the draft in general. Some people it won't because they really wanted something specific. But for most of you, I hope that it gives you that renewed hope for the upcoming season so you can enjoy it and hopefully be able to wave those towels and scream during Renegade and actually have some enjoyable Steelers football to watch come September.
Yeah, and my final thoughts are simple. That this is just one of the stepping stones for this team as they get ready for the upcoming season. We still have OTAs going on. Mini camp will be going on. Rookie mini camp will be happening here soon. Obviously, gearing up to July where we have training camp in St. Vincent College and Latrobe. So make sure you stay tuned to Steel Curtain Network because we're going to be here no matter what. And we're going to be here to give you guys our takes and the latest news and steelcurtainnetwork.com. I can't stress that enough. I want everyone to go give that a shot because I think you'll like it. I'm very proud of that website. Obviously, I'm a big contributor, so is Dave. So definitely want to give that a shout. But it's been a fun draft. Days always are. They're long days, but it's worth it because it is a lot of fun. But I echo all Dave's sentiments. I'm very tired right now, but still, we're going to finish this. Make sure you check out all of our podcasts. Go back and listen to the ones that you might have missed over the weekend. And that's it, man. The draft 2025 is a wrap. Next time we do this, it'll be in Pittsburgh. That's crazy. So, all right, Dave, been fun as always. Have a good rest of your weekend, guys. Everyone out there, thank you all, and we'll see you next time. Take it easy.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.